The Silent Clock, How I Reclaimed My Health Through Time. Chapter 1, The Ticking Trap. The fluorescent lights in the office never seemed to blink. Neither did I, apparently. Most nights I left the building long after the janitor had finished his rounds. My colleagues called me a machine. To them, it was a compliment. To me, it was survival. I was 34. A project manager in a growing tech startup in Chicago. Deadlines were brutal, meetings unending, and my phone buzzed like an alarm clock that never turned off. My day started at 6 a.m. and rarely ended before midnight. I lived on caffeine and adrenaline. I told myself that rest was for the lazy and that pushing through exhaustion was the mark of dedication. But something shifted one morning in early March. I woke up not in my apartment, but in a hospital bed. The nurse told me I had collapsed from exhaustion. My blood pressure was dangerously high, and I had been severely dehydrated. "You've been running on empty," she said gently, adjusting the IV. "It's like trying to drive a car with no fuel and expecting it to keep going." I laughed at first. I always laughed off warnings. But lying there, staring at the ceiling tiles, I suddenly heard the ticking of a clock on the wall, a sound I never noticed before. It felt like the universe whispering, "Time is not something you can borrow. It runs out." Chapter 2, The Wake-Up Call. Recovery took longer than I thought. I was forced to take a leave of absence. For the first time in over a decade, I had nowhere to be. At first, I was anxious, pacing my apartment like a lion in a cage. But slowly, a question formed in my mind. What would happen if I invested time in myself rather than always spending it on work? I began reading articles and books about wellness, time management, and health. One quote struck me deeply. "If you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness." That was it. That was the moment I stopped seeing rest as a weakness and started seeing it as a responsibility. I made a decision. I would reclaim my time and rebuild my health, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. Chapter 3, Rediscovering Mornings. The first thing I did was change how my day started. No more checking emails the moment I opened my eyes. I created a new morning ritual. Wake up without an alarm. Letting my body decide when it was ready to rise was revolutionary. Stretching and deep breathing. Just 10 minutes changed how I felt for the rest of the day. A walk in the park. No phone, no music, just footsteps, wind, and thought. At first, it felt strange, almost guilty. I wasn't producing anything. But soon I realized these quiet mornings gave me energy I hadn't felt in years. Chapter 4, Movement as Medicine. Next came exercise. Not punishing workouts, not sprinting on treadmills in a suit, just consistent movement. I joined a local yoga class and began cycling on weekends. One Saturday, I rode to the lake and sat watching the water for an hour. That moment, unrushed, undistracted, felt more valuable than any business deal I had ever closed. My body began to change. I slept deeper. My headaches stopped. My posture improved. But even more importantly, my mind changed. I was calmer. I was present. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt at home inside myself. Chapter 5, The Digital Detox. As my mornings grew sacred and my evenings became calmer, there was one monster I still hadn't faced: my phone. Even during walks or meals, I'd find myself scrolling through emails, checking Slack, or getting pulled into endless Instagram reels. It was as if my phone owned my attention. One evening, I watched a documentary on digital addiction. One line hit me hard. "If you're not choosing how you spend your attention, someone else is." That night, I turned off all notifications. I moved social media apps to a folder called Distractions. I scheduled tech-free hours every evening after 8 p.m. At first, I felt the urge to reach for my phone like an itch I couldn't scratch. But after a week, something incredible happened. My anxiety dropped. I began noticing more: the taste of food, the tone in my friends' voices, even the way rain sounded on my window. Time slowed down, or maybe I was finally catching up to it. Chapter 6. Learning to Say No. Part of reclaiming my time meant protecting it. I used to say yes to everything. Extra projects, weekend calls, last-minute requests. I thought it made me reliable, but in truth, it made me exhausted and resentful. During my recovery, I began practicing boundaries. The first time I declined a weekend meeting, I was terrified, but nothing catastrophic happened. In fact, my team respected it. I realized saying no isn't selfish, it's self-care. Every no was a yes to my peace, my health, my family, my inner balance. Chapter 7. The Power of Stillness. Meditation was a word I used to roll my eyes at. I imagined monks in robes chanting on mountaintops. But when a friend recommended a beginner's mindfulness app, I gave it a try. At first, sitting still for 10 minutes felt harder than running 5 miles. My mind jumped from thought to thought, tasks, worries, memories, but I kept at it. Day by day, I noticed shifts. I became more aware of my thoughts without being overwhelmed by them. I stopped reacting impulsively and started responding thoughtfully. I stopped chasing the future and began appreciating the present. Meditation didn't erase my stress. It taught me how to face it without drowning. Chapter 8. Reconnecting with People. When I was always working, relationships faded like old photographs. I missed birthdays, canceled dinners, and answered messages with a single emoji. But healing opened my heart again. I started calling my parents weekly, not out of guilt, but out of genuine care. I had coffee with old friends. I even rejoined a book club I once abandoned. One night, after laughing for hours with my sister, she hugged me and said, "It's like I have my brother back." That's when I realized health isn't just physical, it's emotional. And love, conversation, and laughter are powerful forms of medicine. Chapter 9. Redefining Success. Before the hospital, success meant hustle. Long hours, fast promotions, constant availability. Now, it meant something else. Success was sleeping 8 hours a night and waking up refreshed. Success was walking in nature without checking the time. Success was saying, "I'm taking a break," and not feeling guilty. Success was being alive, truly, deeply, joyfully alive. I didn't quit my job, but I returned with new rules. I prioritized tasks, delegated better, and left the office at a reasonable hour. I protected my weekends like treasure. To my surprise, my productivity didn't drop. It soared. I wasn't just working harder, I was working smarter, and I was smiling more while doing it. Chapter 10. Time as a Friend. It's funny. I used to think time was my enemy. There was never enough of it. I was always racing against it. But now I see time as a friend. A quiet, patient friend who waits for you to notice the beauty in a moment. A companion who reminds you that life isn't a sprint. It's a rhythm. I use time now to nourish my body, calm my mind, and feed my spirit. I take time to cook slow meals, write in my journal, and sit on park benches doing nothing at all. And in doing nothing, I've found everything. Epilogue. A letter to you. If you're reading this, Maybe you're tired. Maybe you've been chasing deadlines, skipping meals, silencing your inner voice for the sake of getting ahead. I get it. I lived it. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. You are not a machine. You are a human being. And being requires space, breath, rest, and care. You deserve to sleep deeply, move joyfully, love fully, and live slowly. Time is not something to spend recklessly. It's something to invest wisely, especially in yourself. So take that walk, take that nap, turn off the noise, breathe deeply, say no, laugh with someone you love, sit in the sunlight, do less, and feel more. You are not wasting time when you're caring for yourself. You're saving your life.